What's up, guys? Welcome back. And we're getting close to Christmas season. I can't wait to see the brand new Sonic movie. I'm going to be going to see that with the young dictator. So I'll have that review up for you guys. I also will have my thoughts on the new Superman teaser, which I got a lot to say about that. But if you guys don't know, one of my shows that I've followed through all of the years is a little show called Yellowstone. One of my favorite characters, if you couldn't tell, is Rip from the show. Um, I've watched this literally from the second season on. I didn't know about the show until season two. So last night was the final conclusion, the epic conclusion to this 5-year journey we've taken with the Dutton family. And I've got a lot to talk about, and this is going to be mainly about season 5, part 2. And I got a lot to say about this because I have a lot of thoughts, in particular, why this season was hurt. If you guys don't know the controversy behind everything, Tyler Sheridan and Kevin Costner had some debate behind the scenes. They didn't know, we had no clue as fans what was going to happen to the show, if Kevin Costner was going to return. And I got to say, the back half of the season severely suffers from not just a lack of Kevin Costner's presence in the show, but the fact that the story is very disjointed. And I'm going to get into all my thoughts. I'll do my negatives, my positives, but mostly this is going to be me bitching. This back half, and just so you guys know, there may be some spoilers because I do have to talk about spoilers and to tell you what my thoughts are of this season. This back half of the show was just terrible. And I had this feeling that I did from Game of Thrones, season 8, where I knew right from the start this was going to be a rough back half. Now, I will point out some highlights because the back half of the season wasn't all bad. There is some good here, but this was the final was good, and I'll get to my thoughts on the final episode, which premiered episode 14 for all the long goodbyes. I am very mixed because this final felt like it should work, and I'll tell you the good and the bad behind that. But the part 2B was the worst paced, just terrible episodes I've seen in this show. I would say this is the worst season. A lot of people didn't like season 4. I personally liked it. This was the worst season of Yellowstone, particularly part 2, I've ever seen in the show. As far as other shows go, I don't think it's as bad as, like, say, Game of Thrones or Dexter's last season. But for Yellowstone, this was fucking terrible. Fucking atrocious. I did not like 90% of the episodes. I think there were 2 of them that I liked out of the back half of this season. But this fucking season was terrible. And I don't mean like the season as a whole. Part 1 was pretty good. But I think Kevin Costner leaving really affected this show. Because everything that was set up from part 1 is immediately dropped at the beginning of part 2. And you can feel the directors and writers had no idea how they were going to get to their endpoint. And this is the thing that throws me off. Last night's episode, the final episode, was pretty good. There was emotions, all of that stuff. I like the lead up, kind of a good send off for John. The issue is I have a problem the way John died, and I have a problem with how they built up this rivalry between Jamie and Beth. And I'll get into that because people go, well, Zod, they've been beefing since like the first fucking season, episode 1. You always knew it was going to come down to them. And that's not my issue. My issue is this is supposed to be the ultimate showdown. We have waited 5 fucking years for these two to go at it. And last night was good. I like the brutalness behind what happened, but something just didn't hit for me. I've had a lot of better Jamie Beth moments throughout this show, which could have been points for her to fucking do what she does at this last episode. And by the way, spoilers, just heads up, spoiler warning. I got to get into spoilers to talk about specifically what I did not like about the back half of the season. But, okay, so if you guys didn't know, the lowdown is John is fucking dead in the beginning of this back half of the season. And the driving force behind the second half of the mystery is finding out what happened to John, whether it was suicide or whether he was taken out. Now, I don't have the problem of doing this storyline, but it felt very rushed, even though this was 2 fucking parts with essentially the same amount of episodes that Yellowstone has always had. I think they were maybe 2 or 3 episodes short. I think the last season was like 16 episodes. Don't quote me. I have to go back and watch the other seasons. But it felt like even with all of the episodes that they had, they just couldn't make this whole thing come together at the ending. It was very messy. Now, that's to say that the thing that throws me off is that the very last episode of this show was everything that I wanted the rest of the season at the back half to be. So if you guys didn't know, they were building up between this showdown between Jamie, Beth, and John. John was being impeached. That was kind of the big cliffhanger of part 1. And I honestly think they made a mistake with killing off John's character before even starting season 2. And I'm not the only one. Pop Culture PB is a big fan of this show. But the thing about it is, and we both, I talked to him at the end of this episode, or at the end of episode 1 of this season. And the thing that felt weird about the way they structured this season and the way everything went down is that it felt like Kevin had left and there was no way to get him back. And I'm sorry, one actor can really devastate your show. Now, Kevin Costner was not just the lead of this show. I think there's a very strong cast, a very good supporting cast. Even at seasons people didn't like or points in the show where it was slow, the actors really picked up the slack in this show. But I just feel like John's story was not complete. I feel like he got a good send-off, but without the payoff of his character arc. It felt cut off at the very end of this whole saga that we've been on, which is frustrating because it felt like during part 1, they were leading to a conclusion. And when he said he was only doing those first few episodes, it felt like to me that should have been the time that they had this confrontation. The biggest thing that pissed me off about the back half of the season is the fact of killing your main star off screen and then kind of half-ass showing what happened. And you can clearly tell that's not Kevin Costner, even though they're doing kind of weird off angles or whatever. And while there was a certain respect because of all the years that Kevin Costner has put into this show, it still at the same time felt very disrespectful in the execution. I don't know. Maybe it's because I know the behind the scenes in this show and I've been following it outside of the show and I know about the drama and everything. But the first episode left a sour taste in my mouth. So I wasn't following these episodes weekly like I normally did. I saw the first episode for part 2 and it left a bad taste in my mouth. And I didn't watch it until they all dropped and last night's final. And I watched all the way up to the final and rewatched the final again today to gather my thoughts. Just got done watching it. And I gotta say, the final was everything I hoped the rest of the season would be. But how do you grade a season when the first half of it is really strong, powerful, looks like it's going to go out with a bang, and the second half just fucking drops the ball? And I'm not talking about, folks, 2 or 3 bad episodes. This back half of the season, the last 6 episodes or whatever it is, 2 of them are good. The rest of them are fucking atrocious. Hey, what's up? Welcome to the show. Anyways, so my feelings for the back half of this season is that the two best episodes were the one where the lawyer person that Jamie was banging was killed. I forget her name. She was a decent character. I just forget her off the top of my head. She's got a good presence, but for some reason I can never remember her name. From that episode and then into the final episode, those were the two best episodes of this back half. The rest of it was just like, it was just really hard to get through. Let's talk about, I'll go through the character arcs and what I think about them. Casey's story was fine. I felt like the writers had no clue what to do with Casey after like season 2, maybe. My boy Rip and Beth, to me, really held up this season a lot. But once again, Rip is such a great dynamic character, and he really he's good with those, like when he's taking care of someone kind of roles, or when he's doing his ranch and shit, or some of the interactions with him and Beth. But even Rip's character this season, it felt like until this final episode, they had no idea what to do with this entire cast. I like a lot of the side characters. Some people are on the fence. I love Jimmy, and I would be interested in seeing the 666. But it was actually good to see Jimmy in this season, because I felt like he brought back something that was missing throughout this whole entire back half of the show. I gotta say, so let me just dive into the final episodes, because the other episodes aren't worth talking about. Nothing happens. It's about them trying to figure out what they're going to do with the land. I love what they did with the Native Americans in this. I love the Native American characters. I love Rainwater. Great character. He's been pretty solid through this whole show. There's been a couple of times when I felt like they just gave him random storylines, but the actor is really great. And I liked the idea of them giving the land back to the Native Americans, that at the end, the Native Americans are the ones who are going to be the shepherds of the land. So let me just go over really the final episode, and then I'll give you my season rating. And I might do a ranking of the best Yellowstone episodes. If you guys want to see that, I'll do breakdowns for the other seasons. I'll do a tier list for Yellowstone and my favorite Yellowstone seasons and things like that. But so episode 14, Long Goodbye. So we start off with the stuff with John. And I gotta say, I like everything they did in this final episode with John with the burial. I felt like it was very respectful. Now, how they did my man dirty in this season, I did not like. But I feel like his character send-off was appropriate. I loved, if you guys don't know, obviously I love Rip. I loved the scene with him kicking everybody out, very old school Rip. Him burying John at the end and telling the preacher to leave. I think my favorite line in this whole entire season was when he looked at the preacher and he said, he goes, "No, you can go." If he ain't in heaven now, he ain't going. And if you're still here, then there ain't no heaven, or something like that. It was fucking hilarious. I got a little teared up with him saying thank you. He would protect Beth, all of that. That was very heartwarming stuff. What they did with the ranch hands, I liked all of their little sends off. The one dude got the country singer. That was nice. We got to see my boy Jimmy again. We got to see a couple of people from the 666 again. That was all pretty cool stuff. Got me in the heartstrings there. Very powerful stuff. Like Gator doing the final cookout for everybody, talking about he didn't like funerals. That was all good. Now, I got to get to the moment that I'm sure everybody's going to be talking about, and spoilers if you haven't seen the final episode. Why are you watching a breakdown? But anyways, so I got to talk about the final showdown. We all knew what was coming, what they were leading to. Now, I am split on this because part of me always knew this was coming. Part of me does not like how this has gone down. And I think there were far better scenes of Beth and Jamie and them getting into it. And this felt off to me, and I can't put my finger on what exactly it is. Beth comes waiting in Jamie's house after he gives that bullshit speech about his father. They're all, she's sitting there waiting for him, beats his ass with a tire iron. And then Jamie gets the upper hand, beats her down. She sprays him with bear spray. Lets him know she sold the ranch. So his dream was of making it a development. All of the acting is great. My issue is that I don't know why, but the way he died and just the way it was executed didn't quite sit well with me. And I can't put my finger on it. I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know if maybe as a fan I was expecting something different, or I was putting higher expectations on this whole thing. I thought there were going to be maybe he sends someone after her to kill her. It just lacked the oomph. Like, the pieces was there, the acting was there, the buildup has been there since the first season. All of that stuff is there. And maybe if you follow this show and you're a fan and you got a different take, you can let me know in the comments. But I just did not like how the whole thing went down. I get her stabbing him and wanting him to. She told him since the beginning of the show. She said that she was going to be the last thing he ever saw. And so I get from a writing perspective what they were going for. What I don't understand is why it didn't click with me. Just something about the scene doesn't work for me. And the messed up part about this is the rest of the episode, I think, is the best episode out of this whole back half. Hands down, this farewell was the best episode of the season. Hands down. But Jamie's death felt very lackluster. And that was pretty much the only action in the end of the show. That's pretty much it. There was nothing else. The company who was trying to buy it, they just disappeared. The military outfit, they're just done. They don't want to. Like, there's a couple of loose threads here that were set up very clearly in the first half of this. And it felt slow and it felt rushed at the exact same time. Like, what's going to happen to the company? How does it make a difference that the Native Americans got the land? I mean, I don't know a lot about land deals or about how conservation works or how Native Americans, when they buy the property, I know there's certain different laws that govern that. But it felt like a very rushed way to try to tie up all the loose ends. I honestly think there was another season here, or I think it was a mistake not to get Kevin Costner back and at least have some kind of action with that, because even kicking off the second half, there was no bang, and it kind of went out quietly. Now, is this worse than Dexter? No. This is not worse than Lumberjack Dexter riding into a fucking hurricane, or, God help us, the second ending of him getting shot. And now he's apparently not dead because origins happen and he's in the hospital and he's flashing back. So we're going to have Dexter resurrections, and they're going to give, God help us, another crack at this. That's not the kind of feeling I get. It's just this show went out in such a quiet way, and it's kind of comes full circle to how the show began. The show starts very subtly and then you jump into meeting Rip and everyone. But it just felt like there was no umph. When I first started this show and I first watched the first episode and I got bitchy into it, just the character introductions and how you meet all of the people. It was a quiet start, but there was a lot of momentum. And this was a quiet ending, and there was no forward momentum in this. It was just kind of finishing everything up. And it left a very bad taste in my mouth. And I gotta say, for me, this is not going to go down as the worst season finals I've seen. I've seen far worse than this. I've seen so many shows come to such a poor ending. But when you come from shows like Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, which both kind of have quiet endings, or they have those subtle transitions or whatever, this still feels like not as satisfying of an ending that I would like. And it pains me to say, and I'm just going to grade the back half and then give you my season grade. But for season 5, part 2, I'm going to have to give this a 4 out of 10. You have one good episode here, and that is the ending. The last episode was the best episode out of this whole entire season. And even that felt very, very rushed, not satisfying at all. I did not like the last half of these episodes, and it's very disappointing because I've been a fan of this show for 5 years. I'm still gonna wear my T-shirt. I'll watch the 666. I watched 1983 and 1923. I still love this world, but I think Yellowstone ended super poorly. And that's not to say the last episode was amazing. It's just to end it the way that they've ended it. It makes sense. I think the ranch got a better ending than the fucking characters. Like Beth and Rip's ending, if they never do nothing again, that's a good ending. Casey's ending was very sweet or whatever. The Native Americans getting their land back. I like all of that shit. It tracks. It's just the final epic conclusive battles, the final struggles just fell flat for me. And it's a shame. I mean, especially with the Jamie Beth thing, I wanted so much more. I like the symbolism of him being the final body in the train station, but it's just like how we got there doesn't sit right with me. Season 5 as a whole, I'm sorry to say, the first 5 or 6 episodes are really strong. But because of how the season ends, that's going to bring my grade down, because if you were to ask me part 1 before I saw these last halves, I'd say an 8 easy. We were leading to some great shit, but I got to knock it down a couple of points because of these last episodes. So season 5, the final season of Yellowstone, I am unfortunately, sadly going to have to give this a 5 out of 10. The final season's going to get a 5 out of 10 for me, and it's really the last half destroyed my rating for the rest of this season. The last half was god awful, and it's only saved by the very last episode, which doesn't make a lot of things in it don't make sense because of the episodes in between. They do a terrible job leading up to all of these big payoffs that we're supposed to have. And it's really sad. I actually liked Jamie's character. I thought the actor who played him was great. And I thought that even right up to the ending, the conflict, his transition to being the final hurdle that the Duttons have to get over, it made sense. And I think Jamie deserved better, honestly. Because just the structure, it felt very low scale. Out of all of the season finals, the big actions that we got, the big set pieces, even when they were on the ranch, the big shootouts, and we kind of just end with like a kitchen fight. I don't know, man. It's very disappointing. So this season will probably be the lowest season. If before this, I would have said season 4 would have been the weakest season for me, and that would have been sitting at a 7 or an 8. I gotta really rewatch it again. But this is the worst season, and this is the final season. And I don't know what it is about television shows that can't end their shows. I just got done watching Penguin. That was great. Even Agatha ended better than this show. And it really hurts me to say that. I did not want, I wanted to finish this last episode and say it saved the season, but it really doesn't. It just doesn't answer a couple of questions. And it is a very unsatisfying ending for a character I liked. I like Jamie. And I think that the way he died should have been a bit more climatic. There should have been a bit more punch to it, and there wasn't. Like a fist fight in the kitchen, it was like getting stabbed. Like I don't know, man. It didn't sit right with me. I don't know. I think all of the characters except for John Dutton and Jamie got proper send-offs. And those are the two pretty big key characters that to me didn't get a satisfying ending. I'm really pissed off about that too. I think even though they did the funeral and stuff, I think it was horrendous what they did to Kevin Costner's character. And you can let me know in the comments how you feel about it, but I think the start of the season left a bad taste in my mouth, the start of the second half. And I don't think that there was a good way to execute that. And don't get me wrong, they did the best with what they had, but this just wasn't it. This wasn't it. I'm not even angry at this point. I'm kind of just disappointed. I'm really disappointed and a little let down. This is my first letdown of the year. I will talk about Kraven the Hunter, but this really disappointed me. This ending really, this disappointed me to no end, because I can't even say the season final sucked, and I can't even say the quality of the show sucked, because the quality didn't go down. It's just something off about the whole entire end of this show. And it dipped in quality as far as the writing. Like, the writers had no fucking idea how to write this ending without Kevin. Like, Kevin not being there really fucking hurt this show. It really did, because the lead up got totally messed up, and I could see them rewriting things. And this doesn't feel like everything, like the end of this show feels like the ending they were going with, but how they got there does not feel like what they wrote. Not at all. I think there was a totally different script. I think there was a totally different lead up to this ending. I think John was always going to die, and I think Jamie was always going to die, but I think how they died and what the final conflict was totally different than what we got. And I would have liked to see that, because this ain't it, cowboy. This ain't it. Anyway, so I'm going to give this season a 5 out of 10. Fucking hurts my soul. Last night's episode, if I'm just grading episodes, I'd give an 8. Last night's episode was pretty strong, pretty powerful. But, man, this season's a 5 out of 10 for me. That hurts my soul. The final season's 5 out of 10. I'm very disappointed. And this shows you what happens when you lose your main star, and that just proves Kevin Costner was like, he was the anchor, kind of holding a lot of the writing together. And when they lost him, man, they lost a lot. They lost a lot of what makes the heart of this show. And even with the great supporting cast that they have and all these great characters, it's the only thing that holds up this season. Like, honestly, the only thing, like Casey, Beth, Rip, they were holding this show on their back. And the guy who plays Jamie, Jamie this season, this was the best season for Jamie I think in five seasons, this is the best Jamie moments I've seen in the show. Like, that dude should get nominated for an Emmy or something. That Jamie held this show on his back, but the rest of it just fell apart. And man, Kevin Costner, I did not realize how much he held this show together. But honestly, the whole back half, you could feel the show lost something. And I'm not even going to say the writing was bad. It's just you can see corrections. And I always believe where the show ended last night, the last episode, that was where they were going. I believe it. I could see it. I think that was always the plan. But I think losing Kevin hurt the back end of this. And I had a feeling it would. I tried to be optimistic. Even after the first episode, when they returned, I tried so fucking hard to be optimistic that they were gonna land the plane. But unfortunately, even with a great final episode, it just feels off. It doesn't feel like the payoff I waited for 5 years of this show. It's not even bad. I wouldn't tell people not to watch this because I feel like it does give you the closure for every one of the characters. Like, if you care about what happened to Jimmy or Rip or Beth or, Casey, there's a good wrap up for these characters. But Jamie and John got fucking shortchanged. Especially Jamie, man. I can't stress enough how much I love Jamie in this season. And I don't feel he went out the way he should have. Like, he definitely, like, how he went out, I don't agree with. But, like, the way that they did it, his final scenes, like the taking him to the train station, all that stuff fits with everything in the show. But how we got there was messy and just bad, man. Like, even when they killed off the company, the corporate lady, like, it was just sudden and out of the blue. And yeah, it made for a good shocking moment. But once again, it, like, when the dust settled, I would have liked to see her still in it too, because she was so pivotal in the first part and season 4. And it's like, just what the fuck, man? I don't know what happened to the back end of this writing. I really feel bad for the writers because you could clearly see where they just tried really hard to make this work. Like, they tried so hard. And the last episode's so good. It really is a great season final. Like, if this was a series final and everything was good leading up to this last episode, I'd have a fucking 8, 9. But it sucked, man. The part 2 sucked. It was fucking hard for me to get through. I had to watch the season. I watched the season 5 twice, and I had to watch the episodes leading up to it, and I was struggling getting through the last half of these episodes. Like, there were 2 episodes where I snapped out of it because I'm fucking tired, and I'm just sitting there dozing off, and Yellowstone's never done that to me. Even the slower episodes, I've never felt like bored, and I was just fucking bored the back end of this season. And there were parts I just fast forward through because it was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, what are we doing? There's just so much time wasted. And there's so many different things they could have did that would have made that final conflict feel more, have more of an oomph. Like, there was hardly any action in this back half. Like I know Yellowstone isn't, like, super action-packed, but there's always, like, things leading up to it, and it was just quiet and slow-paced, and, like, this stupid fucking land deal and all the shit going on, and it's just like, I don't give a fuck. Like, oh, man. I'm not even mad. I'm just disappointed. I'm very, very disappointed. Especially because I followed this for 5 years, and I specifically had Paramount just to see this. Hopefully Tulsa King doesn't let me down. That show's been great, but I guess when you lose your main star, that's what happens. So 5 out of 10 for this final season. Last night's episode was an 8, but unfortunately 1 8 doesn't change the rest of my grades. most of these episodes, the first half, they'd be in the 6s, maybe a 7 here and there. But this back half, I got a couple 3s, 4s, like, but my overall feelings are 5 out of 10. Like, it's not a bad show. It doesn't ruin the rest of Yellowstone for me. They don't do anything that really jumps the shark. It's like, this is where I saw it going. It's just how we got there was terrible. Horrible, man. But I'm going to see Sonic 3, so hopefully that'll lift my spirits back up. I love Keanu, and I can't wait to see him play Shadow. I hope to be a little bit more optimistic and happy, but this ain't it, cowboy. This ain't it. In the comments below, let me know, did you watch the final season of Yellowstone? Did you see the final episode? And what are your thoughts on how they left it off? Were you happy with the way things ended? Were you hoping for a better season finale? Were you pissed off that they killed fucking Kevin Costner in the first fucking episode off screen? That left a really bad taste in my mouth. Let me know. And let me know in the comments below so I feel a little bit more happy. What's your favorite season of Yellowstone? What's your favorite line? What favorite Dutton moment do you like? My personal favorite, I loved when he had a battle with the Wright brothers and he had that speech in the field. It's probably one of my top moments in Yellowstone, along with hanging the guy in season 1 from the tree. I really liked that guy. He was a really good villain. But it's sad to see the show come to an ending where I didn't feel completely satisfied. At least the last episode didn't suck, but I really wish that they had been able to keep Kevin Costner on. I really wish they would have ended the show where I think they were going with it. And this proves that when you lose a big star or you lose your main drive, your show suffers. It doesn't matter how great your writing team is or how great your actors are. Losing someone as big as he is, like, and he's been the focal point for 5 years, like, that really fucking destroyed the end of this show. I've never seen one character just doom an entire season. It's crazy. This has got to be the steepest drop and just the biggest drop off I've seen as far as story writing in a very long time. And don't get me wrong, this isn't Dexter or Game of Thrones level bad. It was just a little rough. And I'm glad the final episode at least gave me some feels. So I would say watch the first episode and watch the last episode. You can skip everything in between because, quite honestly, and watch the first part, go to the second part, watch the first episode and the last episode, skip all that shit in between. None of it fucking made a difference. Nothing. The only things that happened was in the first episode of part 2 and the last episode. All that shit in between. Maybe watch the one before the last episode when the chick gets killed. That was pretty cool. But the rest of it was just, it was bad. It was bad, man. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I will be back later with the Little Dictator. We might do a little dual review for Sonic 3. Super excited about that. Check that out later. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Just to let you guys know, I will be doing my end of the year, my worst movies of 2024. And oh boy, do we got a lot of contenders. My best movies of 2024. Not so many. And my best horror movies of 2024, along with my best series that you should watch of 2024. This will be for Netflix, Amazon, Hulu. I'm taking all of the top shows I've watched in 2024 and doing the top 10 of them, which is really hard because there's been way better series than there has been for in a long time. I'm super excited. I'm going to start those tier lists very soon. I've been waiting because I want to get to towards the end of the year before constructing my my top 10 list because I don't want to miss any movies. There's 2 or 3 movies that are coming out in December that I haven't seen yet, and I want to get them on my list if they're good. If not, I might just throw them on next year's list. We'll see how it goes, but I'm super excited to do them. There's going to be a lot of surprises. I thought I was going to put Yellowstone on my list. I'm so disappointed that I unfortunately won't be. If this was last year, it'd probably make it maybe in the low, 9 or 10s, but I'm so sad because I really wanted Yellowstone on there. And it's such a shame, man. I'm so fucking disappointed right now, guys. I'm sorry. I'm so fucking disappointed. Because if you want my opinion on the last half of the season, I'm just disappointed. I'm not mad. I'm not angry. I'm not going to rant for 3 hours. I'm just like really disappointed because I got done with the best show of the year, The Penguin. And then I watched this, and it's just like, fuck, man, a show that's only a spinoff that had one limited series run just blew out of the water a show I've been watching for 5 years. I got the fucking shirt, man. I got merch from Yellowstone. I got the hat. I wanted to fucking go to Montana and fucking herd cattle while maybe streaming. This show inspired me and made me want to be like, fuck yeah, man. I want to get a ranch, ride a fucking horse. Me and Bitchy out in the countryside, herding some cattle. She'd be my Beth. But here we are, man. Just fucking disappointed. Anyways, thank you everybody for watching. Click that like button. Share the video around. Let me know what you thought of the final season of Yellowstone, if you even watched it at all. And as always, remember, there is only one rule here in the Phantom Zone. Kneel before General Zod. Y'all take care now.